Hello everyone, and welcome back to Soccer Unboxing. So welcome to another figure review. I have another large 1/4 scale binding figure to go with all my other 1/4 figures. So yeah, I'm very excited to show her off. It was one that I instantly pre-ordered just because the design was lovely and I loved her outfit. So yes, I will pick up this blonde beauty right now. So yes, right here, massive, heavy binding box, of course. This is the Ali 1/4 scale by binding, illustrated by Masami Chie, and yes, very excited to open her up. Box design looks very gorgeous so far. It does have I feel like a little bit of a casino theme, which I think is cool. So yes, I'm very excited to open her up and to display her with all of my other binding as well as bunny figures. So now moving into some general information about this figure. So this figure is manufactured by Binding, and originally she was supposed to have a July 2023 release date, but then she got pushed to August 2023 and finally released in September of 2023. So I feel like the first figure in a while for me that had a 2-month delay. Now we're moving on to the dimensions of this figure. So she is a 1/4 scale figure measuring at roughly 10.53 inches tall. So now we're moving on to where I bought this figure from. So I bought her off of Nin Game, and based on my invoice, the cost for her without shipping was $350.87 USD. Very, very expensive binding bunny. So now we're moving on to the shipping cost, and I only have really the one shipping cost that I paid for this figure on my invoice. So I ended up paying FedEx DHL pricing, which was $61.07 USD because I want to get this figure right away. So the grand total for this figure was $411.94 USD. Definitely a tough pill to swallow overall. Again, it sucks that Nin Game does bump the price up for the figure quite a bit. At the end of the day, if you were to pre-order this figure, I would just say just get it off of Native's website for that flat rate shipping. Definitely not worth what I paid for at the end of the day, but I am still happy to have her. So now we're moving on to the box that she came in. So it's standard Nin Game box that they put binding figures into. Very tight fit overall, probably like a very thin layer of bubble wrap. It does have its perks again. With the box size, it's not overly big, so you have to pay extra shipping. At the same time, with how much of a tight fit there is and the layer of bubble wrap that they use, your box could get damaged. Thankfully, mine turned out okay. That's just a heads up if you order figures off of Nin Game. Once again, they seem to pretty much tightly pack their figures into a box. Yes, massive binding box as usual. So this is actually going to be my last binding bunny from Nin Game. I'm gonna go into a quick story. I did do this on a community post about how I am now not able to use PayPal on Nin Game for pretty much 18+ figures. And I didn't know this, but PayPal apparently they don't allow the purchase of 18+ items, for their services. And as I was explaining on there, I was able to pay with PayPal for binding and native figures before. Needless to say, I was pretty pissed. I noticed this first when I was going to, look at how much my Olga Discordia binding figure was on there, and for some reason PayPal didn't come up, and I'm like, okay, what is going on? Maybe it's down at the moment. And then I had to email Nin Game about it, and they said, oh, we don't allow the purchase of 18+ items via PayPal. Then how the hell was I paying for this and previous binding / native / 18+ figures? Needless to say, I was pissed. I panicked. I'm like, oh my god, I have all these other binding and native figures pre-ordered on their website. My account's gonna get closed down. So what I ended up doing was I ended up switching to Akimomo. Note that you do have to pay, at least a deposit on there to secure your pre-order, which, it kind of sucks. I do like paying for stuff later. But that's what I had to do, so I transferred pretty much a majority of my orders from Nin Game to Akimomo. Thankfully, Akimomo did have the figures that I originally had pre-ordered on Nin on there. So yeah, I heard great things about Akimomo, by the way. I haven't gotten a figure from them yet. The main thing is just waiting. They do tend to get their figures hopefully a month after, you know, it's supposed to release in Japan, because they have to get it shipped over to Australia, which is where they're located. And then, you know, they have to ship it out to you. So, unfortunately, some of my binding figures and native figures in general, I'm going to have to wait on, unfortunately. But yeah, this is pretty much my last, you know, 18 plus figure from Nin. And, you know, unfortunately, because I am ordering these now off of Akimomo, I won't get the bonus postcards. Yes, the last bonus postcard I can get. Again, you know, I might not just decide to pre-order binding figures in general, and maybe wait for their aftermarket and buy it from someone if I really do want the postcard. But at the end of the day, you know, it's just a nice little extra bonus, the postcard. But at the end of the day, the figure, I feel like, is what kind of matters to me the most. So yeah, unfortunately, you know, there is one more figure on Nin that's not 18 plus that I'll have to pay for. But my account's probably gonna get shut down, like, right after, you know, that figure I finally pay for, which sucks. Again, you know, I apologize in advance. I feel like I said, in the past that, oh, I recommend getting 18 plus figures off of, Nin Game if you don't use the credit card, if you like using PayPal. I feel bad about saying that, and unfortunately now you can't. You do have to use your credit card if you want to get them off of a Nin Game, which sucks. And I do hope that Akimomo does keep using, you know, you can use PayPal for 18 plus figures on Akimomo. I hope that doesn't change, because then I'm pretty much screwed with getting binding figures and all that. And I did email them just to double check, and they said we can do that. So yeah, but let's get over it. I'm sorry for that story, but I just thought I would just, you know, clarify things and how I'm just having to switch shops for getting these figures. So I won't get them, like, on time like some other people do if you order straight from Native. And yeah, but let's open her up. I'm done talking. You know, I was a little salty about all that, but let's just get this queen out of her box. So yes, this is massive, and the instructions are, I'm not gonna show them because I mean, there's some melons out on this one, but yeah, this is how big the instructions is. It's really not a lot, which thank God. But yeah, I would also like to say, because I did this on a community post, I had to I had people vote for which anticipated figure they wanted to see, and Allie was the winner. It's actually a bit closer than I thought it was, but, you know, I want to say in advance thank you for everyone who took the time to vote. I'm excited to unbox the other figure in, you know, the future. I might try and do it today after I unbox Allie, but you will get, of course, you know, this video is coming first for unboxing and reviewing Allie, so yeah. Massive blister packaging. Again, I don't want to turn her around because she is uncensored. So yeah, let's free her from this mess. Alright, she is thoroughly bubble wrapped. Her face is so nice. So yeah, the first time I saw this figure, in plastic bag, a black bag of discreetness, as I like to call it. Yeah, the first time I saw this figure, I just fell in love with her design. I really liked her outfit. I'm gonna slowly try and take her out and face her towards you guys, or away, because a lot of censoring, and all that. And yeah, so she's got a bunch of plastic around the hair, and there was a whole bunch. so far, she's looking pretty good. I did see some MFC user pictures of her. I got a little nervous because I thought the face looked a little weird. In person, it's not too bad. I just had to take a look at the mouth sculpt. Where I'm standing, it's a little bit dark, so I can't really see this too well. And mine does kind of have some, you know how there's like a finish to figures, it's kind of like matte? I noticed that some of it's a little bit like off, like there's some glossiness in like her skin area, which it doesn't, I mean, you won't really notice it until you've like shine it in the light, but so far, looking pretty good. I like the gloss details on some of her things, like her outfit and her gloves as well. I'm gonna see if I can place her down right here slowly. I don't want to actually accidentally scrape the paint off her gloves, but yeah. Okay. She does have a little bit of a wobble to her. So yes, that's all of that in there. So I'm gonna, I might go like a little bit down on the floor, because there's like a second layer with all her other accessories. So give me one moment while I take care of that. So yeah, all of the contents are here. I noticed that she actually doesn't come with a base, which I'm kind of surprised about, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, okay. No, that's all just foam and stuff. So yeah, she doesn't come with a base, which I am quite surprised about. I think they should have included like one of the fluffy base. Some binding figures come with like this fluffy base. I think that would have been perfect for her, considering that, you know, she's kind of leaning on her hand, the paint might come off and such, and I think the fluffy little base would be the best option. So when I do display her, I'll probably put something underneath her so nothing gets really scraped. You won't see it, but I just want to keep this figure as, you know, nice looking as possible. So we're going to be starting off with, if I should read the instructions. Okay, it says to start with the ears, and then her cups, and then the underneath. Oh, and there's supposed to be, actually she does come with a little, butt piece, I guess you can call it, to kind of prop her up a little bit. So that's kind of just supposed to lay right under her butt. So it's just gonna rest a little bit like that. Okay. I guess it just kind of cradles her butt a little bit. But that's just gonna keep her stable, because without it, she is a little bit, wobbly. She can still like hold it up, but I feel like in the case that it happens, you have that clear piece just to kind of prop her up a little bit. So that's easy, and thankfully instructions seem pretty straightforward. So starting off with the ears. These white ears, one of them has like an A with a heart shape on it with a little, oh my god. Okay, with a little cross on it. I feel like and it's the piece, of course, that I dropped, the one with the little dangly cross, which I feel like you do have to be careful with, because, you know, it could break off because it's such a small, like, thin piece. Thankfully, I didn't break anything. But yeah, so this, yeah, okay. One ear. Okay, so I had her ear, the one with the A on it, so it's like her left ear. It wasn't too bad to put in, but her right one, there's still like a little bit of like, it just doesn't go in all the way, currently. Again, I'm doing this on camera, I might try and do a little bit off camera, but it was a little bit tricky to kind of put in, and it does kind of like the peg kind of sticks out a little bit, so it looks a little bit weird, but I will try and like finagle with that a little bit later, after I, you know, put the rest of her together. Next up, we have the cup pieces. So we have the two, the exposed ones, which I will be showing her with. But these do have pegs. I'm kind of surprised about that. I think I would have maybe preferred like magnets and such. Oh my god. I'm a little bit all over the place, I'm sorry. But yeah, so we have her two cups right here. Very minimal cups, to say the least. And yeah, so far they look pretty good. Again, with how my lighting is back here, I can't really see if there's too much shading, but the sculpt is nice, the paintwork is pretty well done. Okay, good. I saw like a little speck. I thought it was something on the white one. But they look good so far, so... okay, I just gotta like go under. And there are like little, replacement pegs. What do you call them? Like the ones that kind of hold the thing in place. So like I guess the peg hole doesn't shrink, so I'm gonna put these in right now. So I had to do a lot of this off camera, and it was mostly with the black covering. It was like almost impossible, and I was getting a little bit fed up. I thought my piece was defective, and I'm not gonna lie, I had to take my heat gun to the black piece, and I literally thought I'm gonna have to call binding about this. Not call, well, email. But yeah, it takes a lot of like pushing up into like the peg, like literally like the peg and the hole like don't really like align, which I thought, you know, it was supposed to align, and I thought maybe it was just like a molding error or error on mine. And no, yeah, I had to take my heat gun and kind of like make sure it was like not too hot so I don't like melt the plastic. And I literally had to like push it up as far as I can underneath. And so yeah, if I do take it off now, it should be fun. So yeah, this black piece gave me a hard time. I saw one person say, oh, she wasn't that bad. Just the black piece was like difficult to put in. For me, it was like impossible. So if I try and like put it in now, yeah, okay. Yeah, now because I'm frazzled, but because I heated up the piece a little bit, it now, you know, it's a little bit of a better fit overall. It's secure, it goes in easily. So yeah, definitely take your time with that piece. It's definitely really hard to put in. I would probably, if you're really struggling with it and it's like impossible, you know, use a hairdryer. Or if you do have a heat gun, make sure it's like not on like a high setting when you do that, because you might destroy the plastic. So yeah, that was something else. Definitely the hardest part of the assembly process. I don't know why it was so difficult to put that in, but anyway, the last piece right here. I'm just, I don't know, I'm a little bit baffled. I've been all over the place today. But the last piece is, of course, the crotch covering, so... Or I should say second to last piece. I forgot about her other accessory. Okay, but it looks like... Yeah. I forgot to also talk about, like, the figure in general, like, in terms of, like, design and, like, details. She looks, like, fantastic in person. Again, I saw some MFC user pictures, and I thought she looked a little bit weird. It was mostly the face. But outfit-wise and all that, she looks fantastic, and I do like the different like glossy and matte finishes. And yeah, now we have her undergarment piece. There is a magnet to this, so yeah, there is a magnet, and then there is a little bit of a back piece. Okay. Okay. last issue. This figure, I love you, but some of the assembly on this should be easy, but for some reason it's being a pain in the butt. So yeah, oh well, I think I got it now after kind of complaining. So the crotch piece is a little bit like difficult. So there is a magnet on the front which goes onto like her lower side, and then in the back you kind of just have to squeeze it under the tail, and it's a secure fit. But when I was doing it, it was like I pushed it like, you know, all the way in the back, but then the front would kind of come down, like the magnet wasn't like strong enough. And then obviously when I pulled it up to the front, like the back wouldn't go in all the way, and you really have to like this is like the fucking this is like the worst thing to do, but you literally have to like push both ends like opposite of each other to like get them in properly. Oh my god, I love you, but you are just giving me issues today. And of course the last piece, we have her cane, and yeah, gold is printed nicely. The gem, I don't know, would I have liked it to be like a little bit more clear, or a little bit, because it's a little bit like cloudy is the best way to describe it. The sculpt on it is great. I don't really notice anything too wrong with this. I just maybe would have liked it to be clear, like a nice, you know, like transparent instead of kind of cloudy. Maybe that's just how some gems are, but you simply just... Let's go like between her legs, I think. Okay. Okay, cane. The cane wasn't too hard to put in, thankfully. I just kind of squished it in between her fingers. I was a little bit scared that I was gonna rub some paint off, but thankfully that's not the case. Okay, I think I'm done. So I'm gonna quickly clean this up because I just want this out of the way so I can turn her around. But yeah, here she is, all done, and I do think she looks gorgeous overall. Again, the design, just the red, you know, the red and black metallic outfit, and her just overall design. And I liked her face, and just how like very sweet she looked. Yeah. Definitely some areas that were kind of a pain in the butt to put together, and you know, I was looking at the instructions, I'm like, oh, shouldn't be too bad, but it was a little bit of a pain in the butt, but yeah. So yeah, of course I haven't looked at this figure properly up close, but of course I will be doing my you know, overall thoughts in the next section. You know, I'll look at her closer, see if there's any other issues, but it's done. Unboxing her is done, thankfully. But yeah, so yes, now we're going to go over the figure overview. Now moving on to B-roll for the box, and I really do love the design of it overall. It does have a diamond theme to it. Very big box overall, just a heads up. If you are running out of space, this one will definitely take up a lot of it. Now moving on to the assembly, so of course some very heavy censoring throughout this video for the sake of me not getting in trouble with YouTube, so that's the reason. Anyway, we're going to be starting off with the ears, of course. I do like the sculpt overall. Not too much shading on the white part of the ears. There's a little bit on the inside with the pink parts. But I do think they look very cute overall, and I do like the extra little accessory on her left ear. So yeah, standard bunny ear placement. Take out the holder pegs and you put the actual bunny ears in. Next up we have the very limited breast covering that she comes with in black and white, and it has a gold outline on them. Pretty nice overall sculpt work. There's a little bit of, I guess, subtle shading to these, which I do appreciate. And then we have this one if you want to display her not safe for work version. Very tiny little triangle pieces. Now, again, putting this into the peg was a pain in the ass. It was mostly with the black part. Again, I had to use a heat gun for this, unless you really have to force it up there, but it was just impossible for me. So if you do use a heat gun or a hairdryer, definitely take your time with doing so. Make sure you try and like mold it to the best of your ability to the peg so that they match up, and then it goes in a lot easier. Just be sure if you do use a heat gun not to melt the plastic. So turn your heat gun down to a pretty low setting for that. Next up is the crotch piece. I apologize if this part is blurry. Again, using my sister's camera, I'm not too skilled with that, but once again, metallic finish to it, and it just easily clips in with a magnet. You do have to push maybe a little bit in the back because there is a peg back there for the back part to go in. And then lastly is her cane. I do like how it looks overall. Maybe again with the gem, I probably would have liked it to be more clear than cloudy, but it's nicely sculpted overall, and that just easily pops into her hand. And yes, pretty straightforward assembly overall. And then the last additional accessory is the little butt stand, so you just slide that in to keep her propped up better. Now we're moving on to the B-roll for the figure. Showing off the postcard now. Very gorgeous artwork. I did want to show this off on my Nin game rant in case people want to kind of skip that part. But yes, we're now moving on to Allie herself, and I think she turned out gorgeous. I'm glad mine didn't really come with any quality control issues. I do feel bad for the people who did have poor copies of her. I hope Binding fixes their quality control soon so we can put more trust into them. But yes, she turned out gorgeous. Again, I love her character design. I really like the metallic bunny suit. That shade of red is just absolutely gorgeous, and I like the sort of heart design that's on there, along with the other little black details adorning that outfit. And I'm kind of a sucker for black and white, so I kind of like the kind of limited breast coverings in a way. I don't know, I'm just a sucker for black and white stuff, so that also caught my attention with this figure. And yeah, I just can't get enough of that nice metallic outfit. I do like the different paint finishes she has. I do like the addition of the cane. It's a nice accessory overall. And I do like how they took the time to at least make her ears look, you know, fluffy to the best of their abilities. And I have to say, I really love the hair sculpt for this figure. I think it's pretty like nice and clean overall. It does go from opaque to transparent at the tips. And yeah, nothing too ugly overall with the seam lines, which I'm very happy about. So yes, I'm very happy to have her in my collection. I think she turned out absolutely gorgeous and would look good next to some other casino-themed figures. Now moving on to some size comparisons. So here is Allie next to the Nendoroid Marnie. After that, we have a 1/8 scale figure, which is the Meiko Hanai Rogoromo by Stronger. After that, it's a 1/7 scale figure of Miyako by Ribos. After that is a 1/6 scale figure, which is the Mo figure by Native and Rocket Boy. And lastly, we have another 1/4 binding figure. This is the Allison Fincher Binding Bunny, and I think that these two look quite nice next to each other. So now we're moving on to my overall thoughts for this figure, and I absolutely love how she turned out overall. I really love the character design, and I feel like it translated very well from her original illustration into a figure. I like the overall pose that she has, as well as her sculpt in general, from the wrinkles on her bunny outfit to her hair sculpt, which I think turned out pretty nice and crisp. And just, I love these strands on her hair, and there really isn't any ugly looking seam lines in any areas. To her face, I think she just, again, looks absolutely sweet. Like, every time I look at her face, that's like the best way to describe her. She just looks very adorable overall. And yeah, I sort of like also the paint finishes. You've got gloss, you've got metallic, you've got matte, and of course you've got different plastics. So for her hair, from opaque to translucent at the tips, and even her fluffy collar that I didn't really mention during the B-roll, I think it looks pretty nice overall. The sculpt is not too bad with that making it look like it's supposed to be fluffy, and she's got a nice little crown to top it all off. And I do, of course, really like the cane that she comes with. I do like it when figures come with nice props to display them with, especially if they're like at a 1/4 scale. Now we're moving on to my cons for this figure. Again, there has been some quality control issues with Allie specifically. I know that on, I believe it's her left leg, there is like a gap in there, like they literally didn't fill it in all the way. I saw one user, I'll probably pop it up on screen, of the picture, which is absolutely yikes. Again, I hope Binding cleans up their quality control soon so we can actually trust them to make good quality figures for the price tag. So yes, some quality control issues here and there. And the next part is definitely the assembly. It was, for me, really only her left breast piece, the black one. I don't know why it was so freaking hard to put that on. I don't know if that was a quality control issue with mine, or I just really had to use a lot of force to push that up into the peg. But at the end of the day, I shouldn't have to bust out a heat gun just to kind of mold the plastic to make it fit. Again, because you could possibly screw it up, melt the plastic, ruin the piece, and then you can try and get into contact with Binding to get a replacement part. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's just a big issue with mine. I heard some people did complain that that was like tricky for them. They managed to get it in eventually. But for me, I was just like, I had to. That was just what I had to do just to get that piece to fit into its spot. And the last thing I do want to talk about is the price tag of this figure. I definitely think she's overpriced. Definitely one of Binding's most expensive 1/4 bunny figures. For a bunny figure, I really don't think I should be paying like that much for it, like base cost without shipping. So that's roughly, 44,000 yen. That is roughly $294 USD. And yeah, now Nin Game, again, I had to pay $350 for her without the shipping, which is horrific. I'm kind of glad I'm not shopping on there anymore, just because I do think they overcharge for figures, especially if you can't get it off the native website. But if you can, just get the figure off of native, because I believe they do have flat rate shipping, and that'll just save you so much more money in the long run, unless you have a lot of points they can use towards this figure. Just get it off of native for their flat rate shipping. Now we're moving on to aftermarket prices. So I'm going to be starting off with Yahoo Japan Auctions, which is kind of tricky to get to, again, because it is an 18 plus figure. You can't just search her name up on there. So what I do is I go to the figure's MFC page, I type in Bai, and then people, thankfully and hopefully, will link to where you can buy this figure off of Yahoo Japan Auctions, because it is kind of in the adult section. I don't know how to get there myself, so yeah. So that's the easiest way I feel like you can find Binding figures on Bai, via other MFC user comments. So going into Yahoo Japan Auctions for this figure, so prices really fluctuate. The highest on there is 50,000 yen, which is like 350 USD. Very expensive, but thankfully it seems like you have other options that are under 300 USD. So additionally, I should mention this because I noticed this in the comments section for this figure. Someone commented that Mercari JP apparently doesn't have an adult section, so unfortunately there's probably not going to be any listings of her on Mercari JP. Now I'm going to quickly jump over to Mandarake. Even though that this figure is sold out, someone was selling her for 35,000 yen with the postcard. Be warned though that apparently the shipping for this figure, I'll pop it up on screen, but EMS was the cheapest. Still $100 just to get this figure shipped, so just be warned about that before you buy her off of Mandarake. I feel like they do have quite expensive shipping costs on there, so just a heads up if you want to get Binding figures in general off of there. Then one more figure on MFC, someone is selling her for 310 euro. I don't know how much that is in USD. They did say though that one of her fingers broke and they glued it back on, so that's just a heads up if you do want to buy her kind of damaged in a way. So it seems like she has gone down quite a bit in the aftermarket, which is good. If you can get her for under 250 USD total, that's an absolute steal. Of course, at the end of the day, it is a 1/4 Binding figure. You just have to be wary of the shipping costs for this figure, because that's going to add up in the long run. So overall, if you really love this figure's design, I highly recommend it. I do think she turned out very nice overall. Once again, some people have been running into quality control issues. The assembly, at least on my copy, was kind of rough. Again, shouldn't have to take a heat gun to a figure. But yeah, that's just some advice I want to give if you do want to pick her up. And yeah, so I overall do hope that this review of this figure helped you in your decision on whether or not you would like to pick up this blonde beauty or not. So yes, that's gonna conclude this video on unboxing Allie right here. She's a little bit bright on screen, I apologize, but I'd say I'm happy to have this figure in my collection. I do think that the design is super nice. I really like the metallic details, and yeah, just the outfit design in general is what really caught my attention, as well as like her face. I thought it looked super cute overall. Again, this is the outro. I haven't looked at the figure up close for any nitpicks and issues. Obviously, during my assembly, you could see that I was running into some issues and frustrations. But yeah, overall, happy to have another lovely binding bunny to my collection. So that overall concludes this video. I hope you all enjoyed watching me unbox this figure, and maybe even my struggles with assembling her, because while those instructions made it look easy, there was just some stuff that was just more difficult than I felt like it should have been. So yeah. And of course, if you did enjoy this video, and if you of course feel like it, feel free to take the time to subscribe to my channel to see what other figure and merch related shenanigans I get into next. So thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. I hope you all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or night wherever you are, and take it easy. Goodbye.